you give a big round of applause for them. First, we have producer Jeremy Kleiner. He's on his way right now. Bienvenido. Stars, Kerry Condon. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Brad Pitt. Damson Idris. Also known as the coolest, most stylish guy in the world. And director Joe Kosinski. Welcome home. Hello, Joe. Hello. Take a seat. So what we're going to explore is a film that actually breaks the mold from traditional sports films. It doesn't just place you in the stands, it puts you behind the wheel. So whether you're a fan or you're not a fan of Formula One, you're definitely going to enjoy F1 the movie. Guys, thank you for being here.
Great to be here, thank you.
How are you feeling after all the craziness that went on yesterday? Were you expecting this?
Oh, it was a great response last night. You know, the people here are always so jovial and exuberant, and there's just a real high, real nice energy, and it makes us feel good to be able to bring the film here first, to start here, and we're just excited to share it now. It's been a 3-year endeavor. We're really proud of it. I think it's great fun and a real visceral experience that Joe's put together. So we just couldn't be more delighted.
I think we're all delighted too, right? To see the film.
Right?
Thank you. And guys, this is a question for all of us. This is from Mateus Leal, all the way from Brazil, from Tecmundo. He wants to know, before engines roared and cameras rolled, what was the emotional gear shifts that made each of you say amen? Want to start, Joe?
I mean, for me, it started, with an email to Lewis Hamilton. I happened to have his contact info, and I told him I wanted to make the most authentic racing film that had ever been done, and would he help me? And luckily, he said yes. So that was the start of this journey. But from there was, to deliver on that promise, it was, building a whole new camera system to capture the speed of these cars, a partnership with F1 so that we could shoot at real races all around the world, and then, kind of most importantly, finding 2 actors that could drive these cars for real in film. And lucky for us, both these guys turned out to be pretty amazing natural talents for driving. So, that was
One's a little faster than the
Oh
other.
no.
one is a little fast.
Here we go again.
He's still live by himself, he's way faster.
Now we go.
And then, you can see they had this natural competition that really, you'll see on screen as well. Yeah, I mean, if they hadn't been so good, at driving, I don't think we would have been able to pull this off. So, yeah, I'm really excited for everyone to see.
Damson, you wanted to say something?
Man, I was in when I heard the names Joe Kosinski, Brad Pitt, Kerry Condon, and Jeremy Kleiner.
Yeah.
You guys?
Yes.
The microphone.
We're gonna change
Yes.
mic. Sorry about
I
that.
gotta check mine now.
Testing 1, 2.
Do you want to test your mic?
People on the stage.
For me, it was just a no-brainer when Joe has this audacious plan to embed us in the racing season, to put us actually in the cars. It was just a dream come true. I've been trying to do a racing film for literally decades, and whether it was on bikes or whether it was in cars, for whatever reason, it just didn't pan out. I'm so grateful because the experience Joe gave us, putting us in the car, putting us in this ecosystem of the F1 racing season, with all the drivers, with the teams, it's just an extraordinary experience. Nothing like I've ever experienced in all my decades doing this. And I will always thank Joe for that, for this film we're able to bring to you today, and just being the architect of this insane idea.
Kerry?
It was a blockbuster movie, and I grew up watching them in Ireland. I never thought I would have been in a big Hollywood movie with the music and the effects, and so it was just like crazy thinking that I was even up for it, to be honest. So I just wanted to be in it because it was one of those movies I had watched as a child.
Thank you.
estamos en México, le puedo contestar en
México.
He's been showing off football.
Para mí es un gran éxito que todo este equipo ha sido capaz de hacer algo que tiene una autenticidad de técnica y de sensaciones, pero también el cuento humano, la historia humana de esos personajes, el espíritu de la película, las emociones, la comedia. Hay una gran comedia entre la gente, y creo que hay muchas dimensiones de la película que no son, ¿sabes?, de lo normal, ¿sabes? Había una ambición muy grande, y yo creo que hemos logrado algo de calidad, ¿no?
Definitely, you did. And Joe, I actually want to ask you that because you got to shoot in actual race tracks. You actually created a new team. You had garages for your team. You have your actors driving. Why was it so important for you to mix this reality with fiction as it does F1, the movie?
Well, there's nothing like being at a real Formula One race. You just can't fake that energy, the energy, the crowd, the sound. I knew that if we were going to make a film in this world, we had to shoot it at the races. And Stefano Domenicali, who runs Formula One, Brad and Jerry and I went very early on in the project and kind of pitched the idea of what we wanted to do, and he just got it right away. And the partnership has been really incredible. I think we learned so much from them. I think they learned a little bit from us. The partnership's been amazing, and I can't wait for people to see the result.
And actually, I mean, everyone is talking about how you guys did your own stunts pretty much, but I don't think people actually know how you got there because the steering wheel for a Formula One car is extreme, too many buttons. Can you talk to us about the process of learning and becoming F1 drivers for fiction?
So before I even got the part, I drove up somewhere in California and got in simulators and got the guys to put all the racetracks there so I could learn them before I even came to London. So then I downloaded the F1 game, created a fake character, and won a championship.
It's a hard one.
Yeah,
isn't it?
it's a long one. So I was doing a lot of kind of manifesting. And then when we finally got the part, it was about the training, intense training from Rockingham to Silverstone, Palm Springs, we're in Austin, Texas, all the way from F4 up to F1. Just really learning and immersing myself in the world of Formula One.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, like the idea of being in the car and dealing with these forces, G-forces, the physics of it all, is just something you cannot fake. And Joe said it, I want to make the most immersive, visceral racing film that's ever been done. That's how he got Lewis in, that's how he got me in, that's how he got all of us in. And so we started this training, and we ended up getting to drive for basically 2 years in the making of this, and I would almost wish we could shoot it again, because by the end of it, Damson and I say we're quite tasty as drivers.
Especially Brad.
Can we now say that you're adrenaline junkies? Is that what we're trying to say here?
Yes.
I love that.
Do you guys think we should race?
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? In the streets of Mexico City, that would be extreme. I dare you to try that. And Kerry, I've been telling you this, I think, for the last 2 days, because I love what you did with this character, Kate. I think it's the heart of the film. I love how you guys created such a strong female character. She's a strategy, pretty much behind it all. So we have some questions from people here who want to know, F1 the movie is as much about the people as it is about the sport. So what's the biggest thing that you've learned about the sport, but also about women in the sport?
So about the sport, I suppose the biggest thing I learned, I know it's going to sound not that thing, but they travel all over the world. It's exhausting. It sounds great, but it's really exhausting. They finish a race, and I'm like, when do they even celebrate? They have to get and go to the next place. It's really grueling. So just that kind of physical toll, and not just the drivers, but everyone. That was kind of, I thought, geez, this is a hard gig. So that was probably the first one I took away. And then, you know, that they get a bonus if they win or whatever. I was like, God, I get so thick with the driver if we didn't win, you know, because I wouldn't get a bonus or whatever. But what was the other question? And women in the sport, well, like I spoke to women in the sport, you know, and they were telling me that they went to college and they studied engineering in college. And in college and engineering, it's mostly men in college, so they're used to just being around fellas anyway. So by the time they get to Formula One, they're like, same as being in college.
Good answer. And we have a question from Constanza Alcocer from Cosmopolitan Mexico. He wants to know, Jeremy, what was the biggest challenge in adapting the intensity of racing into a film narrative? How did you make sure this translated even to audiences who have never watched Formula One?
Yo creo que tengo que dar mucho respeto a Joe y a Jerry Bruckheimer también, que han tenido esa ambición de hacerlo todo real, ¿no? Crear básicamente un sistema nueva, técnica. Joe es ingeniero, ¿no? O sea, hacer el diseño de todas las cámaras y la logística era de minutos, ¿no? Hemos tenido, por ejemplo, 15 minutos para hacer la acción y salir para que puedan seguir el regular, ¿no? Increíble. Pero yo creo que a la vez de preservar la intensidad y tener lo que ha dicho Brad y Damson y Kerry, toda esa cosa cinemática de adrenaline pura y todo eso, no perder también el aspecto humano, ¿no? La comedia, the soul, el alma, y que el personaje de Brad, Sonny Hayes, para mí, y también Joshua Pierce, y también Kate, para Kerry, toda esa gente tiene su propia historia, y hacer todo eso dentro de esa gran extravaganza de acción y no perder el alma, eso es muy difícil, y ha sido un gran esfuerzo de todo el equipo, ¿no?
I have to ask if you guys understood that.
Sí, sí.
I saw you nodding, like, yes, I know what you're saying. Where did you, ¿dónde aprendiste español?
Bueno, en el colegio estudiaba en España.
Wow.
No he estudiado en México, sería mejor si estudiara en México.
Lo haces muy bien. He's doing great, isn't he? Representing all of Europe, that's amazing.
Sí.
And Joe, definitely one of the most talked elements about the F1 the movie is that it's very immersive, you know, like you feel like you're in the actual cars, you feel like you're in the actual racetrack. So can you tell us a little bit about how you build the cinematic language of the film, and whether it was visually, emotionally, technically?
Yeah, I mean, in order to capture what it's like to be in one of these Formula One cars, we had to come up with a whole new camera system that was very light and very small. So we took the system we developed for Top Gun Maverick and we miniaturized it. And we made it as small as we could. I'm sure these guys wish it was a little smaller because it was right in front of their face the whole time while they're driving, and you kind of don't think about that as you're watching the movie, but they have 4 cameras, you know, pointing at their faces while they're driving around the track. These cameras also, they move, which is a new innovation that we developed for this film. But the reason it feels immersive is because it's really happening. I mean, these guys are driving the cars at 180 miles an hour. The cameras are mounted to the cars. They're shooting it during a real race weekend, you know, between practice and qualifying sessions. And there's just, you know, the audience can feel that. When you go to all that effort to do it for real, I really believe you feel it when you're watching the film. When, you know, you see Brad concentrating, going, you know, through cops at Silverstone, he's not acting. He's really concentrating and trying to keep the car on the track because that's a fast corner. So, you know, hopefully the whole goal was to give audiences an experience that only 20 people get every weekend. You know, it's a very, very elite sport. So, you know, they'll tell us if we succeeded or not, but that was the goal.
I think you did. I really think you did. And actually, you know, driving or racing a car, it takes a lot of precision. So guys, can you talk us through about the process of learning the balance and everything? And were you by any means surprised by your own reactions when you saw yourselves with 4 cameras around?
Man, the funny thing is, because of the strike, we actually got better. So when we went back to Abu Dhabi, you said, "Oh, you guys look better," because we had more training to do. But with regards to precision, I mean, it was about repetition. There was so much training that went into being at these tracks that we're going to shoot on. And I have to tip my hat to Luciano Bacchetta and Craig Dobie, who just were with us every single step of the way. Really, is the only person I could communicate with while I was driving. So it was like a marriage, really. And I tip my hat to those guys, because if it wasn't for them, I don't know how I would have been able to pull this off.
Brad?
Sorry, what was the question?
It was if you were by any means surprised by your own reactions, and also if you can tell us a little bit about the experience of driving an F1 car, because it takes a lot of precision to take the turns, and you're a fan of the sport, so you know.
Yes, I am. It's a religion for me as well. It's incredible what these guys can do. We all think we're backseat drivers in a way that we would know how to handle it, and the precision. As Kerry said, they're going from changing time zones to time zones. They're taking these corners, they're pulling 5Gs. It is staggering. And the idea that these guys can go around a 4-mile track, a 3.5-mile track, and all be within 1 second of each other, I mean, it's awesome. So for us to even get to experience a hint of that is such a high. I would love to explain what downforce feels like, the way these cars can stick. It is awesome. I don't know how to do any better than that, because there's nothing I can compare it to. It is such a high, and the fact that we got to be tourists in this ecosystem for a little bit was just an experience I'll never forget. Never.
I think none of us will, because what you did is also unique. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that on screen. And actually, we have a question from the press. Becca Salas from Fuera de Foco wants to know, Kerry and Damson, this question is for you. Can you share an anecdote or moment on set where you really felt that team connection and that you were making something really special together?
We have the same one, so.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you better not steal it. Parc Fermé in Hungary. I know. I loved that day so much. Because it was just like, we were all nervous, like even the camera people were nervous because they had to walk backwards. And we were told 20 times by F1, don't touch the cars. If you touch the cars, that team is going to be disqualified. Like the real team in real life.
This was the end of the race.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah, it's the end of the race. That's where the cars all pull in at the end and they have to check that they didn't kind of cheat or whatever, right? They have to weigh them and stuff. And so you can't touch them. If you touch them, they're disqualified. So we as a filmmaking actors was like, don't touch them. So everyone was so nervous about touching these cars. And then it was a beautiful moment for our team in the movie. So we had to have a great feeling. And then everybody worked together, like the AD department and the camera department and the sound department and stills photography. It was just like all of us had to be great at the exact same time. And so just the feeling when we did it was like, I was so high for so long. Yeah.
How long did we have to shoot that scene? Probably 5 minutes. Yeah.
It was crazy. And then this confetti came, do you remember at one point? It was just like, oh my God. It was so amazing. Yeah, and that felt like it wasn't cast and crew. It was like we were all kind of one. And it was like, good luck, well done, yay. Feeling. It was just really like a bonding moment for us, I think.
It really shows in the film, and I actually want to ask you, Damson, you got to talk, and also you, Brad, you got to experience Formula One firsthand with all the people who stars in Formula One. All the drivers, Max, Charles, as if they were my friends. See what I do there? I don't even know these guys. But what was it like to interact with them? What did you learn? What kind of questions did you get to ask?
They were just so accommodating, really. It just really made us feel at home. I remember Carlos Sainz was the one who always would come up to the garages and say hello. He'd try and sneak into the shop as well. So
He's a movie star.
Yeah, he's probably going to be acting. But no, they were all amazing, and Lewis Hamilton coming on set and just bringing so much joy and passion and just supporting us every step of the way, calling BS on stuff that wouldn't happen in F1. It was just a dream come true.
Yeah, it was incredible. We couldn't have done this without the support of F1, the teams, the principals, the drivers themselves. And I think at first, we had to go in, we all went to even driver meetings just to let them know, to try to earn their trust, to let them know how much we respect the sport, how much we want to get it right, and we want to include them. And if we're ever in the way, please tell us, and we'll scram. But exactly what Damson's saying about Lewis as coming in, it was so smart of Joe to bring him in first and foremost, because that knowledge is unfathomable. And we would have meetings with him, some 12-hour meetings, just as we developed the story, developed the script, and he would tell us his experiences, and a lot of him is in the film as far as certainly our summation where we end. And I mean, he is so knowledgeable, even in the post portion of the film, putting the film together, he could tell you if we were in the wrong gear at turn 6, or that there's a reverb when you go down the straight, to make sure you add that. I mean, the race knowledge is incredible. He's a gem and a gent, a gentleman and a gent. I mean, he's a
That makes sense.
We got it, don't worry.
He's a gentleman. He's a gentleman human being and an absolute gentleman, is what I was trying to say.
George, you're gonna hire Carlos Sainz for your next film.
Carlos, he made some surprise appearances in the film, and like Brad said, I think he could be a movie star. Actually, they're all very natural on camera and great guys. I mean, beyond Lewis and Carlos, George Russell, came by the set, and wanted to see what we're doing. It was great. They were all good.
Jeremy, we have another question for you, actually talking about Lewis Hamilton. Do you want me to ask you in Spanish? I don't know anymore.
It's dealer's choice, really.
We're actually live in plenty of countries, so that's why I'm going for English right now, and not only here in Mexico, but I love hearing the Spanish in this room. It makes me happy.
I'll talk Spanish from now on.
Okay, go ahead. Damson, ¿qué quieres decir?
No.
Sí, gracias. Gracias always saves the day. Jeremy, you have Lewis Hamilton as a producer. What kind of decisions did you have to make together?
I mean, Brad just spoke to that, and really Brad and Joe and Damson, the actors, and had more dialogue with Lewis, from way back. My own experience speaks to what Brad was just saying, which is, like, I think this film transcends sports and actually is a beautiful story about, as Brad said at the end, actually something about life that's very universal, about second chances and what we're all pursuing and what makes us happy and where do we find home or where do we find purpose. And I do feel that was inspired by conversations that we had with him about kind of what is this all about at the end of the day. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think the way that Brad embodied that as this character who doesn't say a whole lot, but you feel deeply for him. And I think where he takes us is someplace that's quite sublime in the end. And I think it's going to be a very, very crowd-pleasing, wonderful thing for people to experience. And again, we owe a debt to Lewis for that.
I have a question for all of you, because I feel like more than just a Formula One film, this is a film about redemption, resilience, even aging, I feel like we all can relate to that, whether we do what we do, if we're drivers, if we're not. So I want to know, how did you relate to these characters, and what's the emotional thing you're going to take from making Formula One? And did it change the way you see the sport in any way?
I love Sonny Hayes' as a line in the film, "New day, new challenge." And for me, that's kind of what I think about when approaching a film, is what's something I've never done before? What's something that's going to inspire me to get up out of bed every day and want to tackle it? So I think, that's one thing I'll take away from this experience.
What I've learned from the world of Formula One is that, it's not just about the drivers. Before making this movie, I thought it was just about the guys behind the wheel, but it's about a bunch of people coming together and trying to accomplish something great. So that's what I like from this movie.
I mean, F1 is full of stories, and each individual has their own, I guess, their own quest and their own forces that they're fighting against. Being myself, or like Sonny, he's a character who had an early existence in F1, and it didn't pan out for him, and he thinks he's made his peace with that and structured his life around that and moved on. But as life does, those unanswered things seem to circle back around, and we have to address them again. And that's the Sonny story as I see it, which is I'm quite moved by. But there's many more stories to our story. There's an underdog story, their last place team, how do they fight within the rules? How can they become a winning team? Kate's fighting against a glass ceiling in a sense. So Damson's character is a new and young phenomenon. He's trying to find his way in a sport that under great scrutiny and still trying to operate at his best. And Javier is someone who's trying to maintain this kind of dream, and he anchors it. So there's multiple things going on in our story, and just like if you follow any racing weekend, you know, the headlines are full of individual stories, and that's the same for us.
Kerry?
So I suppose what I learned from Kate would be to have faith in your talent, and like just know that you're good at, if you know you're good at something, just like believe you're good at something regardless of like what other people say to you. Even the part of me's thinking, what if you're not good though, and everyone's saying you're not good, and anyways, by the way. So to have faith in your talent, and then like what did I learn from well, like education, how important education is, because in many ways like everyone seems kind of elitist a little bit, you know, and even like, you know, the tickets and all, like the expensive tickets get the better passes and things like that. But like if somebody goes to college and studies really hard, you could be on the paywall and you could work for one of those teams. If you're really smart, like it kind of levels the playing field a bit. So education is so important for everybody, I guess, because she's a smart lady.
Yes. Jeremy?
Yo creo que este equipo magnífico ha dicho todo, ¿no?
Definitivamente. I think it's time for us to show the checker flag, which I don't want, because I don't know what am I going to do with my life after this is over. But anyways, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for making that film. I think I speak on behalf of fans and not fans of Formula One. You actually led us into the world of racing, and I just love the film, and I think most people here did. So thank you so much for making it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, everyone.
Thank you so much. Damson Idris, Brad Pitt, Kerry Condon, and Jeremy Kleiner. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure, guys, you check out F1 movie on cinemas here in Mexico on June 26th. So don't